Hello and welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I am Lauren Lyman and today I am interviewing Allison Mitch with Ignite Wellbeing. Allison works with fitness, wellness, prevention. She has a lot of different modalities that she uses to help her clients. So I just wanted to introduce her and I'm going to have her tell a little bit about herself. So Allison.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren, for introducing me, and thank you for having me. So again, my name is Allison. I'm a physical therapist by training. I have my doctorate in physical therapy, my clinical doctorate. And as you mentioned, I specialize in fitness, injury prevention, and well-being. And within that, I see a variety of clients, several fitness clients. I see individuals with disability or chronic disease for things like yoga and Reiki. I also facilitate opportunities for death education through death cafes. I'm a sexuality counselor. I'm a Reiki master, and I'm also a shamanic practitioner. And so I utilize all those to consider the different layers, if you will, or elements, components of well-being that an individual has, because I love physical therapy, I love fitness, but that is, limited in a way to the physical body, whereas we're more than just the physical being. We are also mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual beings, and all of those components will play into your health, wellness, and well-being. And then I should mention too, my business is Ignite Wellbeing. That is a newer name change, formerly known as Wild Woman in the Suburbs. And I got to where I am sort of an indirect route. I was a yoga instructor in Atlanta, and that's where I did my training there. And when I used to teach yoga at fitness facilities, I would regularly be asked by participants about some chronic pain that they had, neck pain, back pain, knee pain, what have you. And I was kind of surprised that these individuals, that there were so many people in pain and that they were willing to live with the pain, but then that they were asking a yoga instructor, which, really kind of inconsistent training there, at least at that time and at that particular facility. They would ask yoga instructors to assist them with their pain. And I was curious if there was actually a profession that could help me figure out how to help all these individuals that were in pain. And so I went from my yoga teacher training into working as a yoga instructor, and then physical therapy. And I started in Atlanta, Georgia, and now I am here in the suburbs of Chicago in Naperville.
That sounds great. I actually had a similar journey with pain. I think as therapists, we are so programmed to believe that pain is so physical and only physical, and we forget that emotions and hardships can actually cause pain in the body, cause physical ailments to the body. So that's great that you encompass both. It's great that you have the education and the background in physical therapy, but then you also have the experience of Reiki, yoga, more psychological components. So it really brings everything together, and I think that's a great holistic service that you provide.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind to say. I appreciate it.
So let's talk a little bit more about each of the services that you provide, because some people might not know what these things are. So yoga, I feel like everyone's pretty familiar with yoga, but let's talk a little bit about Reiki.
Sure. So Reiki was developed in the late 1800s, and it's out of Japan. And it's actually based off of the Japanese shamanic practice called Shintoism. And so basically it's an energy healing technique where they're looking at this universal healing energy called Ki, and Ki is how I spell it. I'm sure there are several spellings, but that's very similar to Chi, Chi, and this universal healing energy that individuals that have been attuned to Reiki can channel this energy and facilitate the entry of that energy into their clients, and that energy will go where it's needed to. You can also utilize Reiki out of in-person sessions. So that means that the individual right now, during COVID, when we're discussing this, we aren't necessarily seeing our clients one-on-one in person. And so Reiki can be done virtually. The person doesn't have to be in the space. You can even do it across time, if that's of interest to you. People will utilize Reiki for healing of ancestors or even for future generations. So it's really fascinating, and I love it. If you've never experienced it, I highly recommend it. It's one of those things where, you know, you might not, it might sound like woo-woo, or you don't, it sounds so foreign to you, but be open to it and experience it. And the sessions are always really lovely. And I feel blessed to be able to offer that to the community and to my clients.
Okay, great. So what about shamanic practice?
Right. So thanks for asking. So shamanic practice, that refers to shamanism, which is a spiritual practice that occurred cross-culturally and is estimated to be 100 to 150,000 years old. So what that means is that it occurred all over the world. It wasn't specific to one particular cultural or ethnic group. And so many times when people think of shamanic practice, they might think of indigenous Native Americans or South or Central Americans, but it occurred worldwide, actually. And so my ancestors were Norwegian and Scottish, and they both have strong shamanic traditions, but it's basically inherent to all of humanity. And I was trained in core shamanism, and so essentially that takes the elements that were common across cultures and combines that into this training. And I was trained by Donna Callahan out of Chicago. And basically, it's a way of addressing potentially spiritual issues or spiritual illness, if you will. And shamanic practitioners look at illness in a couple different ways, and very differently from Western medicine. So you can have things that are called power loss, you can have soul loss, and then you can have attachments. And so power loss are things like synonymous to maybe mild depression or anxiety, or loss of an ego, something like that. And so this would be something where you help the client retrieve their power. Oftentimes it's through the use of a spiritual guide or a spiritual source, such as a spiritual support animal or an ancestral guide type thing. There is also soul loss. And so essentially that's synonymous or similar to the Western idea of disassociation. So all of us have been through a variety of traumas, whether that's an injury or something that happened in your childhood that scared you, or a more significant instance of abuse or surgery or car accident. But most of us have accumulated some kind of soul loss regularly throughout our lives, and that can cause a problem for the individual. And so the shamanic practitioner can either assist the individual in soul retrieval, or the shamanic practitioner can do the soul retrieval themselves. And those that have received these types of services generally feel more whole afterwards, and they'll describe essentially what I'm saying, that a piece of themselves has returned, or they feel more at peace with themselves, like PEACE. So that's always sweet to do. Attachments are things like energetic attachments. So you might think of things like either ghosts or some kind of negativity or something like that. So those are more of the attachment types of injuries. Shamanic practice can also involve things like psychopumps. So you can help those that have transitioned or passed away or died fully transition to the next realm or where they need to be. You can do ancestral healing, so that is beneficial to some individuals, especially if there's trauma that's been going down their lineage. And so, this is one of those things where this also sounds very challenging for our Western medical model and our Western medical minds. But I have had, it's one of those things where once you've experienced it, the work speaks for itself. And I have had really interesting situations where I was able to affirm information for individuals that I had no way of knowing but benefited them. And people really have profound experiences after it. And I don't think that that's me. I think it's, being a shamanic practitioner, and that's just part of the practice. And then there are some medical Western medically trained individuals that do utilize these practices too. So it's not just out there kind of random individuals doing this. If you go to, I think it's called Society for Shamanic Practitioners, you can look up different professionals that are currently working as shamanic practitioners as well. And then I've unfortunately forgotten his name, but there is, I believe he's a psychologist that works on trauma for returning veterans and releasing like PTSD. And he utilizes shamanic techniques, and he wrote a book called War in the Soul. And he was one of the persons that inspired my journey. I was looking forward to help my clients a little bit more and to acknowledge the spiritual element of the pain and the trauma of essentially a physical therapy diagnosis or situation with chronic disease or disability. And this was another layer that I can help individuals by utilizing shamanic practice.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So what about with death education and sexuality counseling? Do you want to touch on a little bit of what you address there?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So right now I am offering death cafes, and those are international, and you can go to, I believe it's deathcafe.org, and you can look and see what the current offerings are just around the world at a variety of days and times. And so we facilitate one right now online. And those have been lovely, and it's just a way to connect with people and create safe space to discuss a challenging topic. And long term, I'm hoping to utilize that in terms of maybe offering death doula offerings or end-of-life care as a healthcare practitioner as well. So, and then sexuality counseling, I currently have offerings, so check the Awake Facebook page as well as my website in the future for ongoing offerings there. But right now I'm doing group work for that, where we, similar to death cafes, create safe space to talk about sexuality. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to mention with any of the services you provide or any experiences you've had?
Not at this time. I feel like, this is probably a lot of information for people to offer or for people to process. But I guess I should give a nod to the women's circles that I facilitate. I do facilitate monthly women's circles around the new moon for the Wild Woman Project, which is also an international offering. And so you can check the Awake Facebook page or my website for more information about those. And currently those are open to women only, but my other offerings are open to all genders. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. So how do people get in touch with you? How do they take advantage of all the great things that you offer?
Yeah, so you can email me at ignitewellbeing.naperville@gmail.com, or you can check out my website, ignitewellbeing.com, but between well and being there is a dash there, so ignitewellbeing.com. You can find me on the Wake Facebook page, as well as my own Facebook page and Instagram too.
Great. Okay. And the Awake Facebook page, if you search Awake:"Oneness Tribe," that will bring you to the Awake Facebook page, where we have access to a lot of different providers, and Allison posts her events on there along with other people. So, okay.
Well, thank you, Lauren, for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Your services sound very comprehensive, and I am very excited to work with you.
No, same. Thank you.